Hi, teammates. My name is Sean J. McCall, and of course, I am your host for this episode of the Eurostep, where we look behind the scenes of European basketball, but not just European basketball, but also things that have to do with the European connection as far as basketball and other sports as well, because there's a lot of connections that go between different sports, a lot of parallels. And I'm really excited for the guest that we have on today. But before we begin, please look at the bottom of your screen in the comment section at the bottom. If you put a question in there, I will try to get it in during the live. If you put it there, then everybody will see it that's in the chat. If you put it in the question mark with the speech bubble, then only I will see it, and I'll also check those and try to get the questions in as well. So we are all set. Let's get ready to roll because I want to have as much time as I possibly can with my guest. It's going to be a dope interview. Yeah. So Korey Harris is my guest today. Korey is a proven basketball coach, author, consultant, podcaster, just to name a few things that he's got on his plate. And I'm really, really looking forward to chopping it up with him right now. And this is the part, Korey, where I got a bone to pick with you because actually you were supposed to be a guest on my podcast before I was a guest on yours. And somehow you totally ignored the dates that I put on that email. So, because I wanted you on here first, but you kind of switched it up. So I was on yours last week, but let me get you into the pod right now, and then we can chop it up. Just a second. Where's Korey? There he is. And he should be popping up any second. There we go.
Sean, my brother.
There you are, man. What's good?
I'm great, bro. I'm great. I'm trying to figure out what email I can talk
Didn't I
about,
send
man.
you an email
I
with
didn't
some
mean to skip
dates in
over.
the info email?
Nah, bro. Ain't no such thing as cold call in 2023. I DM'd you because your information and content was just so amazing that I said, bro, I got to get you on my show. And you said,
Okay, so
sure thing. And that's how we got
okay,
here.
so basically, I'm just old and forgetful, and I thought I was being sick, and I thought you were gonna be on mine first, but okay, it don't matter. So speaking of which,
No worries.
when is our episode on your thing coming out?
So I actually
What
dropped that on
you tell
YouTube
me?
yesterday. So it's already been published, but I'm about to be chopping it
Okay,
up, kind of,
okay,
drip
okay.
campaigning out
I'm like,
some of the fire
damn.
clips,
I'm
right?
like, damn,
So that
dude.
way I can
We
start
do an
pulling
interview,
people.
dude. Don't want to drop it. Was it that bad? Like, damn, bro.
Nah, I dropped that literally like what? Hold on,
This
that was the day
dude,
before
man.
yesterday.
All
So
right,
it's
okay.
yeah.
I'm
Nah,
gonna
I'm
wait
about to start
till
dropping the
you
clips
let
now.
me know, and then I'm gonna. Okay, I got you. I'm with you on that.
Here's the thing though. Here's the thing. I'm kind of like backed up. So
Right.
I got so many interviews that I've done with so many great people like yourself that I said, well, let me go ahead and put Sean's out actually before some of these other people that I've done. You know what I mean? And yeah, because the people
Yeah.
need it right now. It's off season time for a lot
Okay.
of kids. They need to
Thank you,
watch,
man. I appreciate
peace,
that.
man.
All right, so we're gonna rock this
Yes,
right now.
sir.
Basically, I just want it to be a casual conversation, just like we were on yours, and you speak your piece, you speak your journey and everything, and I'm not going to interrupt you too much. I just want to make sure you get all the information out that you would like to get out as well. And so before we start, introduce yourself real quick and let the people know who you are.
For sure. So my name is Korey Harris. Like Sean said, uh, man, I'm just a human being first and foremost. I don't want to go by a certain title that has something to do, I guess, with my trade. Um, I'm a lover of the Lord. I'm a very spiritual guy. I'm very humble at most times. Sometimes my pride might get in the way, but yes,
Yes.
I've had over 16 years of experience coaching within the game. Preferably skill development. Though I have worked on the sidelines. I've done rec ball, AAU is where I got my start at with little kids, 6 and 7 year olds. I've done high school basketball as a volunteer assistant. I've been an assistant coach on the women's side on the college levels. And then I've also, of course, worked on the sidelines in the Chinese Basketball Association, the CBA, for 2 seasons. So I'm still growing, still learning every day, right? Still trying to be better. But I'm excited just to be on this
Let's
podcast with you, my
go.
man. This
Let's get
IG5.
it. We're
Let's
gonna
go.
jump right
Chop it
into it
up.
too. So you played JUCO NAIA D3, right? How satisfied are you
Yes, sir.
with your career? Because no, because on the real, like
That is an
everybody,
amazing
we all
question.
practice. We got that goal, NBA or bust, right? And you're
Yeah,
going from a JUCO
yeah.
to an NAIA to a D3 and stuff is not the typical path for a guy that's trying to make the league, right? So how
Nope.
did you feel about your career looking back on it?
Man, that's a great question, Sean. I have to commend you on that one. No one has ever asked me that. I would have to say that I am thrilled, first off, because I wasn't even supposed to play NAIA, JUCO, or D3. So I won't go too deep into it, but I never played organized basketball growing up.
You
Not one
shouldn't.
game,
You didn't
not
play
one
high
minute,
school?
not 1 second.
Wow.
I promise you. No, couldn't make the team. So I went to McEachern High School here in Powder Springs, Georgia. Shout out to Isaac Okoro, Sharif Cooper, Josh Smith, and there's so many others. Trey Golden, guys who have played all around the world, NBA. And it's a hotbed for
Yeah.
talent,
Yeah.
right? Georgia is period right now. Atlanta is period. But McEachern is one of those schools that was kind of already churning out some real talent, and I got there at the right time, but the wrong time at the same time. So, tried out
Wow.
literally all 4 years of high school. Now, I'm not even telling you that I tried out in middle school also for the feeder programs where I grew up, and I couldn't make those teams. And it goes to what kids are probably dealing with now. Like, sports are starting to become a lot more based on, like, can you afford the personal training, the development, the instruction. And growing up in a single home, not a story that's super different from anyone else's, but we lived in Section 8. We didn't have a lot. And extracurricular activities were just that. They were extra. And so my mother, she did what she could, but it was just no way for me to really learn like what it took to be a high level athlete. I wasn't naturally talented or anything like that. So fast forward, after graduating high school, I had an academic scholarship to go to college, but I
Right.
didn't have the habits to sustain that. So I bombed out. I actually was kicked out of school. I went to Hofstra
Right.
University, which is like pre-Ivy League. It's damn near a private school. And I thought I was going to be an engineer and just walk on to the basketball team there because I
Right.
used to watch Speedy
Right.
Claxton back in the day. And I was inspired by, this dude is 6', 6'1", and he's doing this on the D1 level. He's playing for the hometown Hawks. And I had no idea like how hard it was to really be a Division I hooper. Like, Sean, I'm telling you, I was so ignorant. I had no idea what NAI was, JUCO, community college. I didn't even know anyone, and this is not an exaggeration. I didn't know anyone who had ever
Wow.
been to a university. So, like, all of my friends growing up,
Wow.
single parent homes, I didn't know anyone who had a father, So my mother had no clue about admissions and, acceptance letters and what it meant to take out a loan or get a scholarship. She was just happy to see her only son go to school, get away, right? And New York was far away. So I went to walk-on tryouts. I cold called the assistant coaches. Jay Wright wasn't a coach anymore. I think it was whoever was after him, but they were like, yeah, you can come in and, blah, blah, blah. So I had like this little highlight tape that I put together from a men's league that I had played in. And it was buns. Like, it was a terrible, like, I watch it sometimes just to like remind myself, like, be humble. And so I get in walk-on tryouts, and it was weird because there were some players who were actually already on the team who were there in the tryouts too. So I got torched by a young man who went on to be like one of the greatest players in Hofstra history. His name was Charles Jenkins. He gets drafted by the Golden State Warriors, destroys me. But not only him, it was like I was being violated. Like another small point guard, his dad was like a scout for the New Jersey Nets at the time. Kid just knew how to play, like backdoor cutting me, pressing me 94 feet. Like, he's just doing all the little things right. You already know what they gave me. They gave me, thanks for coming. And I was on my way. So long story short, when I got kicked out of school, I took on all that debt. Like, everything that was getting covered by scholarships was now on my shoulders. So it took me 5 years after getting kicked out of school that first semester to pay off $40,000. So between 18 and 23, Sean, I was working my tail off. Like, not only just, 9 to 5 and part-time jobs, but I was determined to become a basketball player still. I was one of those people that's probably in your DMs right now, because I know I get them, and they're like, yo, I'm 21 and I'm trying to go overseas. I didn't play. It was politics, But I wasn't dumb. I knew it wasn't politics. I knew I was terrible. So I said to myself, I'm going to live in the gym every single day. Like, I can't train just as much as the guys who can play or who have experience. I got to get here an hour before them, work out by myself, then work out with them, then work out after they leave, then hoop. Like, I knew what it was. And mind you, this is all at the same time of working with kids. So, again, I keep saying long story short, but I'm really going to wrap it up right now. An awesome individual by the name of Lonnie Edwards. If he ever gets a chance to see this, Lonnie, I thank you so much. His daughter, Lene, was one of my clients. So I'm training kids while I'm also still fighting for my dream. Lene Edwards was a pretty good middle school player. I would drive over an hour to Conyers, Georgia, to work with her, right, from my home in Powder Springs. I'm still living with my mom. I'm sleeping on the same little bed I was when I was in high school, feeling like I'm a failure, but I just know I'm going to get out of this situation. Like, life's going to change for me. He looks at me one day after our workout finished, the father of Lene, Lonnie, and he says, man, you look like you could still go. Like, how old are you? Like, what's your plan with this? I said, honestly, I want to be the best coach that I can be, but I still want to know if I can play. And he said, I'm going to call 2 coaches for you. And one of those coaches never replied. But the other one, Coach Tony Markopoulos, out in Santa Cruz, California, at Cabrillo College. It's a school within some of the same conferences that you see on like the Netflix documentary with Last Chance U. Yeah. So, we play those schools. We play the San Francisco City Colleges and all those great schools out there. But he called me and he was like Clint Eastwood, but he was Mexican and Greek or something like that. Like, first thing he's doing is cursing me out. Why should I, make you a charity case and just give you a scholarship? Why should I bring? And I loved it. Yeah, he was testing me, trying to see if I really wanted this. And so I did everything he asked. I got out there, and it was the hardest year of my life. I got cursed out every day. I made mistakes every day because I didn't know the game. I didn't know terminology, spots on the floor. I couldn't grasp it. So I begged him. I said, Coach, you got to make me a playbook. I got to be able to see what you're saying, because I don't understand what you're saying to the other players. Like, you say horns, I don't know what that is, right? You say narrow pin down, I don't know what that is. You say the corner, the slot, I know corner, but like, everything was so new to me. I was like a baby deer, and he kind of bent a little bit, and he got me a playbook, and I still didn't play, but I was getting better. And we got to the end of the season, and he decided not to renew my scholarship, and it hurt. But he was real with me. He said, you're just not good enough. Like, I got to give this money to somebody else. And a friend of mine, Ryan Goodson, who was a big time trainer at the time, and he was doing stuff for ESPN, he called me right after I left my exit meeting. Like, it's like tears like welling in my eyes, and my phone's ringing. And I was walking back to my apartment. We didn't have dorms. And he said, Korey, man, how you doing? He was always like really energetic, and I wanted to just be like, man, get the fuck off my line. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't trying to talk right now. And he said, well, I can tell you're dealing with some stuff, but I want to tell you I got good news. Roy Williams at North Carolina wants to give you a spot, as a practice player, or, I don't know, whatever the title would have been, but he's going to let you be on the team because I know you're trying to play, and, I just think your story's inspirational. And I paused and I said, Ryan, hold up. And I put the phone on hold, and I looked up to the sky and I said, Lord, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, my goal is to play. If I go to UNC, I know I'm not doing nothing there except waving a towel. I know where this goes. It could be great from a connection standpoint. It could be great from a coaching standpoint. It's UNC. You know what I mean? Like, the relationships you make there, you would never, you can never make up for that or duplicate that. But I said, man, I want to play. Like, I want to be a guy. I want to be on the floor. I want to make an impact. I want people to look at me and trust me on the court. And so I made a tough decision, Sean. I said, Ryan, I appreciate you, my brother. That's love that you even think to mention me when you're talking to one of the greatest college coaches of all time. He's a Hall of Famer. I said, but bro, I can't do it. And he sounded shocked, and he was like, well, at least tell me why. I said, Ryan, I gotta play. I'm a dog. I know it. And we hung up. He called me back, and he said, well, listen, forget D1. What if I got you into a D3 school, a Christian college? I said, man, if I feel like I can go there and like cut my teeth and take my lumps, then you just tell me where it is and I'll go. And so he hooked me up with Coach Richard Westerland. Shout out to you if you're watching this. And he called me. He said, Korey, I need a point guard. Like, I know you play JUCO. You obviously know what it takes because JUCO is tough.
That's tough.
These kids
JUCO is not for the faint of heart.
No. I mean, everybody's trying to get out, and that's what kids don't understand about the JUCO level. Like, I had D1 coaches from the West Coast in my practices every day, so my teammates were decapitating me every day and then putting my head back on. Like, it just never ended because everybody was trying to get out. So,
it was cutthroat, man.
You know how it is,
cutthroat.
man. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to be one and done. Before that, you know what I mean? That was a big thing. So, Richard was just, so enthralled by the chance of getting a guard who had kind of gone through something like that, regardless of, my stats. And when I got out there, I told him, I said, Coach, hey, I didn't really play a lot, but I have the ability to be a leader because of who I am. Like, I know that whatever it is you ask me to do, I'm not just going to be trying to tell other people to do it. I'm going to show it. Like, I'm going to lead by example. So, man, when I got to Crossroads, it was a culture shock. It was in Rochester, Minnesota. And it was a lot like JUCO. D3
glamorous.
is not that different in some ways. No, man. The skill level is actually, I would say, in some cases, a step down. But it was just such a great opportunity for me to be at the helm, be the starter, get real minutes, get experience. And my first year I had to sit. My second year, because of the JUCO to Christian college like rules, they made me eligible. It wasn't anything wrong with my grades. It was just, I guess, rules. But my second year, we actually broke schools records of most wins in a semester. We went undefeated at home. I went from leading the nation in turnovers to then flipping it and leading my conference and leading the nation in assist to turnover ratio.
I got to stop you
then
right
I broke
there.
the assist record.
You led the nation in turnovers? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm afraid to ask.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm trying to throw a number out there in my head.
Five
turnovers a game.
5 a game.
Ooh, you was apple turnover out there, man.
Sure. Yes, sir, man. Like, I was playing the play. You know how it is when you're like new.
You just
whatever instructions you get 1 or 2 players. Yeah, like either there's a player that just bucks and just does their own thing, and they break the play because either they're scared or they just feel like they see something. I was the dude that was a robot because, I came from the skill development world. So I was so used to teaching players to do A, B, C, that's how my brain was working. I had lost all the feel.
Of course, because you also didn't play that much, so you didn't have the experience.
Exactly. I didn't have the instincts to be told, like, yeah, he's going to come off that back screen, throw the lob, but then I see, like, the defense is looking for that, so it's not there and keep my dribble alive. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have that. So it was a lot of times me just either seeing something my teammates weren't seeing or just forcing something that wasn't there. And, it turned around for me, that transition from leading the nation in such a terrible category to something good. I went home for Christmas break, and, I used to be nervous to play. I was afraid to play, man, because, again, I knew that I wasn't as experienced as
you ain't get the bubble guts, did you, right before games?
No, it wasn't like that. It was more so like I didn't even have a routine before games. Matter of fact, my routine was to work out as hard as I could because that was the only thing I knew. You see? So, like, I was such a workout warrior that I felt like I had to do that to even be successful. I didn't even trust my work. Like, there are people out there, and someone may be watching this. 9 times out of 10, if you're the hardest working person and you just grind, you're probably doing it out of fear.
That's a good point.
we praise it so much, and we, you know what I mean? We elevate hard work so much, and we make it this like maxim that we all are trying to strive for. But the truth is, some people are chasing after this ghost that they'll never attain. Like they're chasing after, you know, a level of perfection. And it's because they fear being seen as an imposter. I had a presence on social media before it was even popping. So I had a YouTube channel with my skill development stuff and my training. I had 10,000 followers when no one was on YouTube posting training videos. I would go to games in JUCO and at D3. People will recognize me like, yo, I grew up watching your training videos. Like, what are you doing playing college? Aren't you too old? So, you know, like, I'm literally out there like, yo, these people are finna like think I'm a fraud. You know what I mean? Like, imagine going to the jump circle and you're shaking hands with the refs and the other team's point guard. We're in Canada and he's like, Coach Korey? Like, he recognizes me. And I'm like, yeah, bro, you know, be quiet. Like, I for real was shook before every game, hoping just nobody noticed me. And then, bro, we're not even talking about my teammates. Like, my teammates are looking at me like, yeah, you're 23 or 24 at the time. You train players. You know what I mean? Like, you're this basketball authority. You do camps and clinics and all this and that. And I'm
they're going in too hard.
Or you know what I mean? Like, you're missing open threes. Yeah, you know what I mean? Or they're not swinging it to you after you miss those first two shots. Because now they're seeing like, bro, all them drills won't save you. You know what I'm saying? So when I went home for that Christmas break in between semesters, I said to myself, I got to figure this out. Like, this isn't about like how hard I'm working or not. This is something internal. And I knew it, but it was different now. And all I did for that whole like kind of mid-December to like early January break was hoop. Like, I hooped against pros. I hooped against other college guys. I didn't hoop with anybody that I felt like, you know, I could kind of see them coming. I wanted to smoke, you know, and I shook off like the good guy thing. Like, you know, like I said, I'm a believer. So a lot of my walk and my talk is based on trying to be Christ-like. But shoot, Jesus flipped over the money tables in the temples. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus was a carpenter. He probably had big hands, big arms, big shoulders. Like, you know, when people ask him questions, sometimes he would turn with a question. He was petty. And I'm like, you know, yeah, I'm like, okay, so if I'm going to be a leader, I got to have a little oomph to me. Like, I can't keep being white gloves, you know? So second semester, I'm looking in the crowd. Second semester, like, I'm cursing my teammates out. Second semester, I'm ready to fight. Like, I'm telling people, man, you don't touch that line, we got a problem. Right. It's just, it was always there. It was just, I had to get angry. And most leaders I've learned are only leaders because they are angry at their situation. Like, they see something wrong and they get mad enough to want to fix it. Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, like anybody you think of, they want change, but they want it more than the person
complains about it and doesn't do anything.
This is terrible. This sucks. Exactly. You feel me? So, man, I wanted change. We were a 0-15 team. We were, you know, I remember being in because I worked in admissions at the school for my work study. I would be in the office and I would overhear our receptionists taking bets by how much we were going to lose by. True.
They was taking bets.
I'm not
they was taking bets.
This up, bro. Like, yes. Like, you know, these and I hope none of them are watching it, but even if they are, I don't care. Like, these bumble white folks out there in the middle of nowhere, just like, yeah, how much you think they're going to lose by today? I give it a 20. I think a 30 ball, like, you know, and they're betting lunch on it. You got to buy me coffee, if you know. So, man, it taught me resilience. It taught me there's nothing like being yourself. Like, when you learn that, it's so freeing. And then, you know, it taught me like what this game is actually about. It's not, yeah, let's get in the gym and like go to this cone and do that. Man, okay, that's all good. But you got to hoop, bro. It has to translate. Like, the game is the teacher, right? And so we should base what we teach off what the game is showing you that you need in order to be successful. So, long story short, I played there, had a great second year. The school closed down because of financial reasons. It just shut down. And I was back to working, you know, 2 or 3 part-time jobs. I was a roofing and I worked roofing and construction. I was an after-school program teacher, and I worked at Wendy's. And I was also doing skill development training. So I was back at home sitting on a roof one day, the sun beaming on my back, and I just thought, man, you know, that was a good ride. Like, I got to maximize my talent. I wanted to do more, but I at least know what it's like now, right? And I got a call from a coach that I actually we had a game against on my birthday, second semester in Ellendale, North Dakota, at Trinity Bible College. Coach Jordan Noel, shout out to him if he watches this. And you know, he said, Korey, you torched us. Do you remember that game? You gave us a triple-double. And of course I remember that, because I ain't never even had a double-double or a single-double. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, yeah, you know, playing humble, like, yeah, coach, I remember you guys. But they had a great facility. And I remember being in their weight room before the game, doing my warm-ups, saying, I will go here if I had the chance. And he said, well, listen, you know, you actually get a year back. It's like a waiver because of your school situation. We'd love to have you. I go out there, Sean, torched it. Like, my first year there, we had a really good team. I had, you know, a national player of the year as a big. My god brother came with me. He's like a freak athlete and just like natural scorer. So it was like kind of a Dane and CJ type thing. But we had, you know, LaMarcus Aldridge down there, right? And so that was a great situation. Both of those guys, they don't play with me my second year. So I just decided, F it. Like, I'm going to be me to the best of my ability. And I was a second team All-American. I was all conference. And so your first question was, how do I feel about my playing career? Man, I graduated at 28. I was grandpa of the team, you know, but I played in the national championship. I lost, injuries. I've made game winners. I've missed game winners. I've been a captain. I've been cussed out a million times a day. I've sat on the end of the bench.
Through it. That was your journey. That was your journey.
So happy.
Can't nobody take care of it. You do realize that you've just eaten up 27 minutes of my interview, dog. So these next questions, you're gonna have to be a little bit less short-winded, long-winded on me. Okay, I got you. All right.
I had to get that one out.
I'm gonna go back to something you said earlier, actually, because this is something that I find really interesting, the development of youth basketball, especially. You mentioned before that like, you didn't have that much money, you know, so everything was extra. And now you got kids that are hiring performance coaches, skill trainers at, you know, very young ages, right? And it's somehow become, instead of when I was growing up, you just went to the park and you hooped, right? I went with my big brother, we hoop. Now you got these kids that are really, their parents are really behind them. They're investing a lot of money into trainers at 12, 11, 10. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so in a way, basketball is becoming an elitist sport, which it never was, right? So people that are able to hire these performance coaches or skill coaches at a younger age, of course, they will develop differently. There's a flip side to that. It could be that these kids also get burned out, right? That they lose the joy. They're doing all the work, but they lose the joy, and also they become robots. They're just doing it for the you know, for the likes. They're doing it for other reasons other than the pure joy of the game. How do you see the development of you know, grassroots ball and this now everybody's on YouTube, everybody's on Insta with these trainers? What do you see as that development, and do you really also think it's necessary for kids to start so early with their skills development?
That's a great question. Like you said, I'll try to keep my answer short. So I think the root of that is capitalism, and I'm speaking on behalf of my industry, not parents and players first. So someone who desired to have a job that was not 9 to 5, that was in a field of his interest, and that could keep me around the game in athletics, having the chance to enter into the industry without having to go through a class, a seminar, take a certification, or answer to some type of like board, right, or commission. It is a pipeline that has allowed a lot of people to just deem themselves as elite instructors. And so now, because you have this influx of instructors who are all offering services, they are having a field day and a feast on consumers who are not in some way smart enough to even tell whether or not what they're learning will actually translate or if it matters. Now, again, because our society is the way it is, where it is a lot more like individually focused, like we are all, think about it, we're on a podcast right now. 20 years ago, if we couldn't get on television, there will be no way that, yeah, we could have some type of a platform that people would want to listen to us. It will be almost like we're just outside standing on soapboxes talking. That also plays into the conversation that you're talking about as far as kids starting so much earlier, and now the individualized attention that they're getting, it is satisfying the need for each of us to be accepted, to feel like we're being acknowledged, right? And then, of course, yes, you do have some coaches like myself who charge a premium, right? So the kids that back in the day we would have seen in the park and just snatched them up because they got skilled, put them on an AAU team. Now those kids stay at the park, or they don't even play outside anymore, right? Because there's no one else to play with, or there's no space because there's a trainer working on that half court, monopolizing the park. So I do believe that eventually basketball will become more like tennis. It'll become more like baseball, more like hockey, where the less fortunate and those who are from a demographic where they don't make as much, they will eventually be phased out. Now, the counter to that and the way to balance it is to now create like forums or some type of like judge that can create a level playing field, where if a trainer is not certified or if a coach has not met some type of, rigorous training program, like they haven't been actually taught how to teach, then they can't just go out and just start business.
But
you know
literally,
what I mean? Like, we don't
there's so many guys, and like you said, sometimes the parents they don't know how to investigate, and that's part of my next question. They don't know how to investigate if this skills coach is good or not. They just see maybe something on Instagram and they start following, they start paying attention. So it's hard because America is so big, you know. The coaching system over here in Europe is much different, and I had to go through my coaching licenses here. I had the top coaches license in Germany, but you go through a system, and it's like you cannot coach these kids if you're not getting these licenses. But back home, it's like the wild west out there. So what I want to ask you is how does a parent, or how does a guy that played overseas, and now I just wrote a post about that as well, like about trying to find a skills trainer after your season is done. How does someone find out if this guy, this girl that claims to be an elite skills coach, if they are really worth the money that they're asking for? I mean, I totally believe you should invest in yourself. You should find somebody that you trust, because I think that's a big part of it, that you put your career in the hands of someone, right, to get you better. But how do people try to figure out if that person is worth his weight in gold?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and it's something that parents need to be told. It needs to be broken down for them. So number one, I think like the ground floor is obviously like some type of experience playing, but I think again that's the floor, right? Like one of the main reasons why I wanted to go back and play wasn't just that I had it in me to play. I also knew that I wasn't teaching from a level of depth. Like if I talked to a player before my playing career, it was always like what I had heard, what I had read, what I had watched in a YouTube interview or, highlights. It was not something I had experienced. So I think that's key. Then the next level above that is, and again, I'm only talking in tiers, so I'm not saying all of these are the same. So playing, I think, is the floor. I think the next level is if a coach has actual teaching experience, like not coaching, teaching, just literally like if you are a parent of an 8-year-old, has he ever taught, worked with, instructed, mentored an 8-year-old before? Like you got to see some history of this individual, whether it's a man or a woman, where they are equipped emotionally, mentally, intellectually, to understand the thought process of
Gotta have
another individual,
empathy.
another human being. The worst thing, and this is, yeah, to empathize, exactly. The worst thing is for someone who has played, even on the highest levels, to just assume
Right.
that because they
Right.
played, they can skip all this other stuff, and now that means that they're going to be this awesome teacher.
Right.
Just because you could do
Right.
it doesn't mean
Yeah.
you can communicate it, right? It's like an artist, like a Van Gogh or Picasso or whoever we want to name, just because they could paint, now saying, well, I can make you the same. Like, it doesn't work that way. So I think teaching, like being an instructor of some sort, is important. So for me, I started teaching in an after school program when I was 16, and I did it all the way till I was 23. So I dealt with at-risk youth, kids from broken homes. Like, we were getting them off the bus, and they would be with us for 4 hours before their parents got home, and then their parents come pick them up. So I had to help them with homework. I had to, clean up scraps. Like, all of that helped to rewire my brain when it came to dealing with youth. The next and the highest level to me is coaching experience, right? I think if they played and they've ever worked in an instructional environment where they are teaching other people or other children, then now you look at, well, have they ever coached? What have they coached? Middle school feeder, high school, college, pro. That right there will help the game to become three-dimensional. So like someone who played and someone who's taught, they can teach you like moves. They can teach you like, reads when you have the ball. But someone who's coached understands the team game. They understand how the defense rotates here. You have to be able to kick it there. They understand, bro, you can't dribble 5, 6, 7, 8 times in one spot. Like, your teammate's mad at you, your coach mad at you, the shot clock's running. You know what I mean? Like, this is not 2K, bro, with the fatigue off. Like, you have to make decisions. So a coach who has been there, done that, made substitutions, they have a different temperament, and they're going to be a lot sharper in some of those other facets that just someone who's skills focused can't be. So I think those are your three tiers. That's what parents should look for. That doesn't completely wipe out someone who hasn't coached, but I would say you shouldn't pay them the same as you do someone who's done all three of those.
Let's talk a little bit about your book, your first book, Student of the Game, Dribble, Drive, Ball Handling, and Passing. Book came out in 2013, and there you were relatively young. How did you come up with the idea, first of all? And second of all, as being as young as you were at that point, you were ahead of your time. You didn't have the real experience that you have now. So looking back on it, what would you change about that book?
I would change the whole book, Sean. That book was straight BS. Here's why. I'm keeping it a buck with y'all. I'm going to just be honest, brutally honest. Here's why, Sean. At 23, I didn't even know who I was as a coach, as a player, and as a person. I wrote that book because I felt the pressure to be just like all these other great skills coaches and trainers. And some people won't be like this. They won't tell you the truth. But I'm keeping it a buck. If I had the opportunity to do it different, I just wouldn't have wrote it. I just wouldn't have wrote it, Sean. Like, what? 2013, Sean, I hadn't even finished playing yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do I look like coming up with something, right? Like, you can tell. Come on, man. That's probably why you asked that question. You're like, I can't wait to hear this explanation. So that's a very easy answer for me. Here's the thing, though, and this is true. Okay. So I'm going to turn this into a lesson for those that are listening. I'm going to keep it super short. Those of you who are in this industry, skill development, teaching, instruction, even if you're not, let's say you're a banker, right? And you want to be the quote unquote authority figure for financial advice. I know where you're going with this. To come to you for credit repair. And who are you as soon as you come into your industry to start telling people, I charge X, Y, Z. You should listen to me. I have all the keys. These are the gems. I'll give you 10 keys to make $1 million. Man, if you can make $1 million, why don't you have $1 million? I'm making a passing, dribbling, in whatever handbook. I don't even remember the title. And I couldn't even avoid making 5 turnovers a game. What kind of BS is that? Like, come on, man. Let's keep it real, Sean. Let's keep it real. Now, does that mean hold on.
Yeah, I got tears in my eyes, man.
Come on, man. Come on. Like that. Now, does that mean that the principles in the book were false? No, right? The concepts I'm teaching, they're all true. Like, yes, you should play low. Yes, you should push your elbow and wrist through the ball. You should have the ability to, make straight line moves before change of direction. I got it. But guess what? Guess what? You already heard that. You already read that from somebody else. I'm regurgitating. I'm not teaching. I'm repeating. That's not revelation. That's cognition. That's the ability to just remember something. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And so that's why the book didn't sell, Sean. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. People supported it because they loved me, those who knew me. But I believe that you get whatever you put in. And I wrote that. I sat there. I grinded on it. I self-published it. I learned business while I did it. Now, I did learn like the process of self-publishing. So I'm thankful for that process. Come on, man. Like
I asked you that because not only because you were pretty young when you wrote it. And just a second, C. Bansky, if you want to ask a question, go ahead and throw it in the comments. But I asked you that because I've also I wrote my book actually many years ago before I published it, and I published it in 2021 after I rewrote it, and just in the last 2 years now, I look at it and I look at all the things that I'm doing right now with my consultancy things as well, and although I think my book is pretty good, I would have changed a lot. Like in a span of 2 years now, I've learned so much that I definitely would have changed. I'm thinking about making a volume 2. So you know what I'm saying? So I've learned so much that I could put into another book, and that's why I asked you if you thought that there were some things that came through. Okay, let me answer this question right now. Can high schoolers play overseas in the summer? No, because there are no seasons going on during the summer. Europeans love their vacation, so when the season's over in May, they are down. No basketball going on over here. So that's the answer to that. What I wanted to ask you as well, you got a lot on your plate right now. So you got are you still general manager at 360? You stepped down. So,
no, I stepped down.
So you've got, but you still got a lot on your plate. How do you find the time to do what you do, but also with quality?
And I just go at everything 100 miles an hour. As you can tell, like this conversation, this IG live we're doing, like I'm all in. I ain't got something else pulling me this way or that way. I just go 100 miles an hour at whatever I'm doing. So that takes care of the quality. As far as the time management, I'm very guarded with my time. So I've learned, because I started so young at 18 that people actually don't care about you. People will, they'll take everything you have, if you let them. And so I was naive. I took every call. I worked with every single player that I could. I tried to show up to every game. Every time someone asked me for anything, I said yes. Job opportunities, projects they were working on. Oh, bro, let's go in. Let's start this business. Like, man, I couldn't say no. And so when I learned the power of that small word, no, it freed up my entire life. So now, 16 years in, I am very intentional about how I spend my time and what I set my focus on. Like, if I can't count the cost of a project and say, I know I'll be able to push through and stay consistent with this, I don't even start. So with this platform with the transition, a real resource for coaches, I basically said to myself, is this something I'm passionate about? Do I actually care about the well-being of coaches? I said, yeah, of course, because I was just like them. I was starting out with no help. And okay, do I want to really go all in on a podcast? I said, well, instead of me trying to create something that is going to be on a schedule and I'm going to be having to come up with content, I said, why don't I just introduce my audience, people that already trust me, to my mentors and people that are in my network who know so much more than me and can help them the way they've helped me just by telling their stories. So that's literally all I've done. My podcast is just people like you, people like Brendan Sur, Sharif Abdurrahim, literally just sitting down, chopping it up, and doing what we're doing now, but I'm wielding it to like help as many people as I can. So again, like that's not hard to do. I have to, of course, use iMovie and edit and teach myself different skills. But you know, at the end of the day, we do what we want to do. And so I'll be real with you, Sean. Like I didn't have a life in my 20s. Like I didn't go to the club and you know, run around or nothing like that. I've always kind of been driven. Like I've known what I wanted. And you know, when you grow up poor, you have a different perspective of time, money, energy, life, everything. So I don't necessarily do things from a standpoint of fear. I'm not afraid to go back, but I also know that if you don't work, you don't eat. So, you know, I'm very like intentional about everything.
I want to go back because I want to kind of combine the overseas thing. So you coached in China, right? First, you were at with the Beijing Basketball Association. How did you? China is not a market where like everybody just goes. Like they're very selective. So how did you first get in to China?
So shout out to one of my mentors, Gannon Baker. He was at one time a shareholder with a Chinese company called Stronger Me. They were supposed to help him get his basketball curriculum, who a lot of people here in the States know about, to China and to their coaching market. So I had just graduated college. He reached out to me and he actually said that I had the opportunity to go and play in the Philippines, but I would have to go to like a university. You know how it is. They have like they combine it where you're like a part of their like second division or third division team, right? So he's like, man, you know, you had a great college career. You could continue your career playing in the Philippines, maybe work your way up, but help me get, you know, my curriculum in the Philippines. And I'm like, nah, man, like I'm 28. My body is already shot. Like I was playing with a fractured leg. Like I had a pop bursa sac in my hip. I was an old 28. You know what I mean? So I said, all right, let me just go ahead and do what it is that I love to do. And that's coach. Like I already made up in my mind, I'm going to figure out a way to transition out of skill development and leverage it into a coaching career. So he said, all right, well, I'm going to come back with an opportunity. I said, okay, cool. So I went back home for the summer. He came back. He said, listen, you could move to Beijing, China. I got a company there. What do you think? It was supposed to be like $80,000 or something like that. I've never made that much in my life at the time. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, this is my chance, right? So I go out there. We first go to either Shandong or Zhejiang, one of those provinces, but it was like beautiful, like limousine pick me up, red carpet treatment. We do a coaching clinic, me and Gannon together. I'm thinking this is the life. I can get used to this. He's like, yeah, you're going to be traveling around the country doing clinics every other week. I said, cool. Like, all right. Like I know the game. I'm patient with people. It's a language barrier, but I'm picking up, you know, what they putting down. Awesome. Man, Gannon got on that plane after we finished that weekend together, and I got on my connecting flight to go to Beijing. I thought I was back in Atlanta. I was in the PJs. Like I'm talking real projects. Like, and you know, when you in a different country, it's different.
Hey, wait, before you go, I gotta say the hoods in Paris. I lived in Paris. The hoods in Paris are the hood. So go on. But it hits different overseas.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard stories. I've only heard. So yeah, China was like, it wasn't like the movies. Don't get me wrong. You know, bing, 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 they wasn't all that stuff. You know, there were occasional like donkeys pulling fruit carts, and you know, you could tell people were still used to that old way of life. But you could also see the areas where they had built it up because of the 2008 Olympics. So you know, the country was still fairly new as far as being open to the rest of the world. So man, I'm moving into my apartment with this guy named Big Lee. He was like the manager that was supposed to kind of be my liaison. He's like 6'8", you know, he could speak good English. So he brings me to the apartment. Man, it's like feces still in the toilets, hair all on the floor. There's no carpet. It's just straight up tile. My bed has no mattress, right? It's just like a board. My toilet is directly under my shower head. The toilet's a hole in the floor. Like my washing machine overflows every time you run it. You have to hang your clothes up outside. If you drop it, it's gonna fall like 40 stories to the street below. Like, this is real living. So I'm thinking like, dang, G, like you ain't tell me about all this when you was, and that 80 grand, like where is it at? Like, 80 grand living here? Man, they give me a new contract, Sean. They talking about I'm gonna make 1,200 USD a month.
That's not adding up.
I'm doing the math. I'm like, I wasn't a math major, but that's not math, and that ain't making no sense. So I'm like, there must be a misunderstanding. They're like, nope, this is your schedule. I'm working at after school programs just like I did in Atlanta. Like, ain't no basketball really in this. I'm like, so when do I go do what I did last weekend with those coaches? Nah, that's not really on the schedule right now. We don't have any of those events lined up for you. Huh? So do I have a car? No. Here's a bus card and a subway card. I mean, I'm literally sitting in this apartment for 3 days. He leaves me. My phone doesn't work. They told me at Verizon or T-Mobile, like, it's unlocked. It'll work when you get over there. Man, that phone was like a paperweight when I got over there. It didn't work for nothing. So for 3 days, I don't go anywhere. I stay in my apartment. Like, I literally just sit there and the walls start talking to me. I don't have no money because I tried to convert it in the airport. I had like 20 US dollars. So, that's like 140, 120 RMB, UN, right? But I'm spending that on like the taxi fare and everything else till I get settled. Man, I walk to a McDonald's, bro. I kid you not. I buy 2 Big Macs. I ration that for 3 days. Like, I cut it up.
Yo, you was living foul, man.
So let's just say that first year was a test. Like I went from wanting to go home every single day, questioning like, what is life, to I just woke up one day and I said to myself, I'm gonna make every single one of these people that I come in contact with feel like they're the most important person on earth. So every little kid that I trained was, Damian Lillard or John Moran or Kobe Bryant or LeBron. To me, I was like, I'm focused on your development. And it was like, as I started changing my attitude, opportunities started like coming to me, right? I started eating the food more. I started, learning Mandarin. Yeah, getting out, getting on the bus, getting on the subway, sightseeing, going shopping with really no money, window shopping, but just traveling, right? Went to the Great Wall. And yes, Beijing Basketball Association opportunity opened up. I did a great job, on that platform, speaking to the coaches, teaching them, the fundamental principles of the game. And then I met Stephon Marbury. I didn't know that Marbury was a majority shareholder of the business. Like, Gannon had a percentage, but Marbury was a much larger shareholder. He had retired. So he was just on his farewell tour, just having fun, living life. When we met, we were cool. Like, we kind of hit it off, but I was like, like, he's a little too, just loud for me. It was larger like, than life, he's larger than life. He's like Michael Jackson over there. You know what I mean? People cry at his feet. They throw roses at his feet in the airport. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm cool on that. But he respected the way I approached the people and the game, because he's all about the Chinese people and he's all about the game. So when he saw that I had that hunger, he kind of like always kept me, a little bit closer than maybe someone who was just looking to get something from him. So when he got the coaching job, it was basically an expansion team. The Royal Fighters at the time were in another province, but they relocated to Beijing. And when he became the coach, they wiped out the whole staff, of course, and they gave him the opportunity to do like a draft where he just took a couple players from every team, obviously their lowest paid. And then he got the first draft pick in that year's draft. So his agent had a 6-year-old, and I used to train the 6-year-old son every other day. And I was praying one day and I just heard something say, ask Steph's agent to be your agent. And I'm like, that is the dumbest thing ever. Like, I'm a skills coach. I don't need representation. What is he gonna do for me? But that's what I heard. So I saw him the next day, and I said, "Hey, can we do lunch sometime?" He said, "We can go right now." He throws me in his Range Rover. We go to some nice private, spot on some rooftop somewhere. I'm super scared. I got a lump in my throat, but I just get it out. Like, hey, man, I don't really know why, but I just wanted to ask you if you could, represent me. I really like it here. I don't know what it has in store, but I think, I want to make a career here coaching. He says, "I'll do you better. I'll just help you. You don't have to give me a percentage. You don't have to, pay me. There's no contract. I'll just help you." And I just thought to myself, like, oh, man, I better keep listening to that small voice. And so over time, he was trying to, like, get me into positions to be in front of Steph as he was hiring the staff. I got on the court with the team. I took a subway for over an hour. I rode a bus for 45 minutes, and then I walked for a half hour to get to their practice facility because it was way outside of the city. And I had to change of clothes. He told me he would pay for my hotel, the agent. His American name was Kevin. And he said, "But that's all I can do for you. After that, it's up to you." So I walk into the middle of their practice, and I'm just kind of like posted. And Steph's like, "Are you here to work?" And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever you need." And he said, "All right, you got the bigs for 15 minutes, go." So I run behind a pole, and I change my clothes, and then I run across the court. I hear the buzzer go off, for the time to start for their breakdown workout or breakdown drills. And I just put them through high-low action, and, low post stuff. And, they're setting screens and popping, screen and roll. And so, everybody's kind of just, standing and watching. There's other stuff going on, but they're like really focused on who is this dude. The bigs love it. Some of the other coaches, they're like, "Oh, okay." But Steph had already hired a guy who had like this huge Instagram following and was popular here in America. I won't say his name. Kevin tells me, "Steph went a different direction, man. I'm sorry." Like, I was out there the whole week just sweeping the floor, turn the lights on, rebound, guard, got whatever he wanted me to do. He said he went a different direction. He calls me the next day and says he's in tears. Now, if a Chinese person helps you, that's not abnormal because they're nice people. But for them to go out of their way and to get emotional for you as a foreigner, right, when it has no benefit for them, that's extraordinary. So when he cried in front of me, another grown man, and told me, like, he just wanted to help me, I knew that this was bigger than me. Like, this was not something that, like, I had earned or he said, "Listen, I'm going to put you with the #1 team in the CBA, the Guangdong Tigers, but you have to go live in the mountains." He said, "Is your passport okay?" I said, "It's going to expire in 3 days." He said, "It doesn't matter. You just got to do it." And I said, "All right, F it." Like, so I went and lived in the mountains of Urumqi. It's one of the most racist areas in China. You could not, I couldn't leave the complex. We lived on a compound in the mountains. There were people being snatched up. Let me stop before I get in trouble.
Hold on. So I done just totally lost all control of this interview, by the way. I've asked you like 4 questions. So what we're going to do now, exactly. Because I want to hear more about this China gig. So we're gonna hold off on the. That's what we're gonna pick up. We're gonna make a. No. This ain't no problem for me, dog. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a part 2, and with your long-winded self, we might have to make a part 3 because I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you right here all these questions that I had written for this interview that I've actually asked for. So yeah, hey, dog, we vibing. I am not mad at you. Man. This has been a blast. But what we're gonna do is now we're gonna switch it up. We're gonna take a time out. We're gonna come back. We're gonna do a part 2, right? We're gonna figure out a date and we're gonna do a part 2 full show. Now I'm gonna ask you. Hold on. Let me see what. No, we're going. We 1 hour in now. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna ask you. I got like this little segment. I got 5 phrases or or like words, and you just tell me the first thing that pops into your head. Okay, that's how we're gonna end this.
Okay. Okay.
Number one,
For sure.
skills training. Number two, coaching
Overrated.
in China. No, I'm not even gonna ask you that because we're gonna come back to coaching in China. That's gonna be part two. So everybody that's watching this, there will be a part two where he's gonna tell us more about this China gig because I am definitely
Oh
feeling that.
man.
If you could do something over again, what would you do? Anything.
If I could do something over again, what would I do? Like just to re-experience it or
Let's go
do it
with
different?
re-experience it.
Oh man.
Okay.
Ooh, play again. I'll play again.
Your happy place.
Happy place.
Very
In a huddle.
dope answer. The love of the game is the last one. Huh?
The pain of the game. The
Ooh, okay.
pain of the game.
You
Ain't no love
went
without
deep, dog.
pain.
You went all the way in on that one, dog.
Yes,
So
sir. Yes, sir.
I got a question
Yes, sir.
here.
Yes,
Just a
sir.
question. I'm a small forward. How do I play without having to score all the time? I want to be an all-around player. Actually, very good question.
Great
No
question.
player wants to be just a single type player that just scores or something like that. So just a quick answer to that. I would say the most important thing is just work on your game and work on different facets of your game that also don't have to do with scoring. Work on your pocket pass. Work on different types of things that will help evolve your game to the point where you're an all-around player. There are players that are specialized, shooters, for example, but that's not all they do. They also know how to set up a block so that they can come off the screen and shoot. There's a lot of nuances of the game that you can work on without just thinking about scoring all the time. So you want to answer that too?
Man, I think the biggest thing is learn how to space the floor, right? Because if you space correctly, then there's cutting opportunities. Learn how to screen for others. You know, like Sean was saying, if you can get other people free, then obviously you're going to be more valuable. And then focus on the defensive side of the ball. You know, like creating stops and then transition opportunities after a rebound, a block shot, a steal. That's obviously going to put you in a position where now you're running with numbers and you have an advantage. And you can just kick it ahead or make a great pass. And now your teammates love playing with
Good.
you. So
So,
those are a few
man,
ways.
that's it, man.
We try,
Thank you
bro.
for answering 4 of my questions. I appreciate it. We took 30 minutes for the first question. I'm with you, dog. I loved it, man. Don't get it twisted. I ain't tripping. I ain't tripping. So we're gonna definitely do a part 2, and I look forward to it because I'm not gonna write one single question. I'm just gonna let you talk.
Okay.
I'm just gonna let you run with it. It's your show, dog. And
See, I think you were fooled. I think because I asked you like so many great
yeah,
questions,
man.
you thought, okay, it's gonna be the
You
same.
set me up with the okie doke, man. So for those of you that just joined, I did his podcast last week. We vibed and everything. It was great interview and stuff. We'll be dropping some stuff on that later. But yeah, but so he set me
For
up with the
sure.
okie doke, and then he came on my show and ran it and ran it, right. So I ain't mad at you, dog. We're gonna do a part 2 because I'm definitely trying to hear the rest of this China story because I love those overseas stories anyway. But thank you, man, for being my guest for tonight. We will do part
Thank you,
2
bro.
another time, and I hope everybody that's watching it now
We'll
will
try it
join
again.
back in because I'm gonna pub this and I'm gonna say I only asked 4 questions, so you better come to the next one to see how the next one goes down too. So man, get on out of here, get on with your day. I'm gonna say goodbye to the teammates. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you, man. It's for real.
My brother, appreciate you.
Later.
All right, everybody. God
So
bless.
teammates, another great. This was hilarious. I had a lot of fun with this one, and we vibed last week. And you know, that's the thing about social media. If it's used in the correct way, you learn a lot of people. Learn. You get to know a lot of people that you wouldn't have ordinarily met. He's in Atlanta. You know, I'm here in Germany, and we really vibed. And we're going to do some more stuff in the future. Got some stuff lined up, and but I thought that was a great interview. I'm really looking forward to. We're going to have part two for sure. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, I hope somebody wrote you may need four parts. Yeah, you're right about that. We might need like the Rocky series. But that's it's all love, man. It's all love. I really appreciated it. So yeah, so let me load this up to YouTube and then figure out when we can get part two and three and four out of the way as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed it just as much as I did, and I'm looking forward to the next time we're on. But as usual, that's it for tonight. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for your paying attention. Thank you for watching me laugh outside the screen. Um, if you were here for 1 minute or the whole now hour and 5 minutes, I appreciate you, and I hope everybody comes back and watches what we do or what I do with my guests in the future. Yeah, we got a guest next week. Yeah, I've got a guest, a pretty cool guest next week, and yeah, so I might crank out a couple more of these as well because in at the end of the week starts my vacation for like 2.5 weeks, Easter vacation. So I'm out of school for 2.5 weeks, and I don't have too much to do. So I might crank out a little bit more material. And yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. Old head out.